Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Voice Like a Lion podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Pemberton, and today we have a friend of mine who I know is going to be a quick friend of yours. This is Jennifer Watson. She is a sought after international speaker, gracing TEDx stages, sounds like another one this year, healer, visionary on a mission to help leaders heal and accelerate their deeper purpose of impact through shifting their mental emotional state and optimizing healthy, high performance leadership. She is the founder of Watson Worldwide. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Hi, it's so good to be here, Stephen. I love supporting your community, and I'm ready to serve and rock and roll and see what kind of goodness we can get into.
Thank you. I am really excited to have you here because we've had a few different conversations, and I love your take on leadership and how you help leaders be able to become high performance leaders. Because I do believe that there's a difference. What got you into the world of leadership?
It's interesting. Maybe a lot of leaders say this, but I'm going to say it. I was a natural leader a lot of my life. It was just
Hmm.
one of those things I just felt I was the person, the visionary, take the bull by the horns, start and lead the path that was not gone down yet. Just really bringing in a lot of different amazing people onto a team. I had a natural knack for that. So from a very young age, starting in sports, I was a team captain on a lot of different sports and well into college where I ran at Wisconsin Madison. So leadership came naturally to me through sport. And then ultimately, I started my first business not too many years after I graduated from physical therapy school. So, and even before that, when I did a few hours or excuse me, a few years in with another company, I was already up to the senior leadership within a year. So I just have naturally always been a leader. But what I have found, Stephen, is my own pitfalls, like things that I did that I could have done better and things I believe leaders need at the tip of their hands to really accelerate their team, accelerate their impact, accelerate their profit, and still keep their health and still feel really good on their playground. And again, through my own journey, my own businesses, as well as connecting with other business leaders, I have found my own journey and frameworks I now share with other leaders to really help optimize your vitality, optimize what I call a healthy high performance, to really be in your unique leadership frequency. And once you have that, I believe you can become pretty unstoppable with your team to give what you want to give to the world.
I The thing about finding your own frequency, this is what I actually say something similar, but it's a little different, and I've heard it a couple different times. It's just finding your lane.
Yes.
Because we talk about it in different areas. We'll talk about it with comparison and things like that. But finding your lane, we call it zone of genius, whatever you want to call it. I think that that's incredible that you help people be able to find that frequency in their life because the way that you lead a team may be wildly different than how I lead a team, but
Right.
that doesn't make it less effective. It
Yeah.
doesn't make your way better than my way, but there's a way that I do it that suits the people that I work with, and there's a way that you do it that's going to suit the people that you work with. So
Yeah.
how were you able to find your frequency? I know you were saying it was natural, but I would also like to say I was a natural leader. But what's funny is I was kind of the opposite, where I was a natural leader, but I loved being alone. I didn't want to be with people. So every time I was in a group of people, I would always be nominated to be the leader of the thing, and I was always just deathly afraid and saying absolutely not. And then they made me the leader anyways, and we usually did really well. But it sounds like you, from a young age, learned how to just step into it. So with you stepping into it, how did you find your own unique frequency, and then how are you helping other people step into their unique frequency?
Absolutely. I believe leadership comes from using both the left and right brain. And what I mean is, from a left brain perspective, all leaders are a little bit different on their gifting, on how they communicate, on different things that are definitely foundational for leadership. But I want to move from that space a little bit today, you guys, as we're talking about frequency, because what I mean about staying in your lane and kind of getting all the weeds, but being in your zone of genius is not just knowing what your gifting is as a leader and how you can expand yours and help others expand theirs. But for me, it's really understanding the chemistry of how your particular brain in your body optimizes itself so it can show up fully as a leader. And that requires you to listen to your brain and body. Many of us, even as leaders, because we're feeling we have to get 20 things done in a day, we're racing around, we're trying to be high performers. I teach healthy high performance, do not burn out. We can talk about that. But it first starts with you just listening to, hey, I love that. That's something that I love to do as a leader. And you feel it in your body. You guys, it feels expansive. It feels light. You feel in your jam. You feel almost like in your flow. Okay. Connecting, feeling, listening to your body when you are trying to find your space as a leader, find your gifting, kind of what your knack is super important. So I teach people frameworks to help them actually tap into brain body chemistry, to listen to it communicating to you so you can actually get into your lane more effectively and actually stay there. When your brain and body, you're communicating to it and you're optimizing it through a lot of healthy frameworks I give it, when stuff comes at you, as we often get as leaders and business owners, you stay anchored in brain body integrity so it can continue to communicate with you and continue to be in a jam that is high performance and healthy. Because I'm going to be honest, you guys, all of you are probably high performers and all of you have been successful, but how many of you have been burnout, exhausted, but still doing pretty well? I'm not saying some of you guys haven't done that, but I'm going to tell you right now, you weren't in your frequency. For you to actually be in the highest form of performance, think about if you're doing well now, if you actually get into a higher, healthier performance and get your brain and body and listen to it and get it in integrity with you, oh my gosh, you not only accelerate your performance, accelerate your profit, accelerate your leadership unique giftings, but guess what? You actually feel good doing it. You're not burnout, exhausted, brain fog by the day, and not have the things you want to do later in the day and give to other people that you want to give to because you're so tired. You guys really get this. Leadership frequency to me is not you just getting your unique gifting, getting the foundations down in your unique gifting, but actually understanding how your brain body works for you to stay in your lane and keeping it in integrity. So when life gets lifey or your business throws things at you, you can actually stay in vitality, brain clarity, making good decisions, and staying highly productive and high performing no matter the environment. When you understand that and learn the frameworks to do that, you truly become unstoppable because life is always changing and you better know how to step in as a leader and teach your team to do the same.
That's something that I've experienced just over my years of being a leader is there's absolutely been successes that have come with huge deficits. And that's so interesting that you talk about this mind body connection because most of the time, especially with the high performers, for the people that are listening, there's been absolutely some high performers listening that they will sacrifice what their body is telling them for the achievement.
Yes.
That's why they say, well, I'm a high achiever. It's like you may be a high achiever, but in this area, this other area of your life, your actual health journey of your life, you are losing in that area because you have so focused on achieving whatever that dollar amount is, achieving whatever that promotion is. And I think that that's such a great way to look at it because it should be all in one, right? If you, because eventually, maybe not now, maybe you are winning in whatever field of battle that you're in. But eventually, if you're not taking care of your health, if you're not taking care of your actual mind, if you're always having this brain fog, eventually it will catch up and you will not be as high a performer as you are right now.
And and the thing is, you bring up such a good point, Stephen, and I hope listeners are listening to this. I get it. I was in what I call the unhealthy high performer. You guys, I was successful for a while. I'm gonna be honest, I was successful, and I'm sure all of you can say that, like, I'm successful, but for one, how do you feel? Are you living well? Are you burnout exhausted? You're starting to have physical health issues, heart palpitations. And number two, if you haven't already, you're gonna self-implode. Okay. Don't you want to just feel good and stuff that you love to do? One, and actually, if you think you're high performing now, that actually you can accelerate and just shatter the glass ceiling on things that you thought you were being the best high performer. And you guys, I work with leaders and their teams all the time, and we start shifting their mind body chemistry and aligning it to their gifting. They become unstoppable because, again, once this stuff starts happening, you have so much brain body integrity, it can take on anything. I have a lot of frameworks to help when you go through different hard times and how to wield that from a decision making, from a communication making, from getting your team in a good team environment. But it always starts with you and how you feel and how you're radiating your frequency as a leader. And no matter how many frameworks you have over here to get the process done and get your team on board, if you are not doing well, you are not showing up fully for your team and they are not showing up fully for you. And I'm going to give you one tip, you guys, to start creating a better mind body chemistry that works for you when life gets lifey or change or challenges start happening. You have to learn how to emotionally shift your state. What do I mean by that? When you get a bad email, what happens sometimes, Stephen? Maybe you get angry, or maybe you get anxious about it, or maybe you get consumed and start going, well, gosh, how do I respond? You start losing productivity because you're letting the emotion overtake you. Maybe something happened where you had to navigate a tough conversation with a colleague of yours or a team member. Maybe you had a fight with your wife before you got to work, you guys, and that emotion is still saran wrapping your brain and your body. It's stalling you because you're perseverating on it. You're stalling you because now it's creating physical symptoms in your body of whatever emotion you're feeling. And you're not getting the work done that you want to get done that day, or not doing it very well. So learning, everyone, how to shift the emotions that come at you when things trigger you during your day. And I'm saying in the pebbles in the shoe, okay? When you have enough of those during the day, the emotions just start stacking and stacking, and you start becoming brain fog. You start becoming low tolerance to things that are happening during your day. You start getting edgy with your team. Because I'm telling you, I always start with shifting people's mentally emotional state as leaders. Then we get into the good stuff of leadership and gifting. And then we get into the good stuff of frameworks that help with productivity and communication. Understand this, you guys. When you get in your leadership frequency, it requires you to assess and bring in and optimize your brain and body chemistry. And one way that you do that is learning how to shift your emotional states. Frameworks I go through all the time with my clients. You can get out of the weeds, like you said, Stephen, back into your lane of gifting, and take on the day that you had planned.
I think the emotional states, the first time I'd ever heard that was at Tony Robbins. And I remember at this point, I was already a successful leader, but he talked about changing your state.
Yeah.
And I just thought that that was such a funny concept of like, why do I need to change my state? I'm already successful. I'm already doing this stuff. But what I found was exactly what you just said. And I'm going to be honest. Well, let's just be real. Let's make this really practical. Let's not make this 5 years ago. Let's make this 5 minutes ago. So right before I got on the podcast, I actually just had another podcast air, and it aired. It's been live for a little less than 3 hours. And somebody watched it and left this long comment about everything they didn't like. And I was just like, you didn't even watch it. It's like you actually didn't take the time to understand the concepts in the video. And I felt it. It usually starts in my chest. And I'm just able to identify those things at this point. I can feel my chest kind of tighten up, and it almost feels like this little fire starts burning. And I go, okay, I'm starting to get away from where I need to be. And for me, I went and I just talked to my wife. And then after that, we just kind of recentered. I was able to sit there and find gratitude. What am I grateful for? I'm grateful this person just watched it. I'm grateful they commented at all. Yeah. And that helped shift my emotional state to be able to get back to where I need to be able to do this podcast with you.
No, that's such a great point. It's so brilliant that you're able to do that. And I'm going to say this about leaders, you guys. What we have a tendency to do is two things. And it's great that you do that, Stu, but we have a tendency to do two things. One, if we're feeling it, we push it down because we have to get on with our day. Okay. Or two, we're so used to being in kind of this, I'll call it negative emotion state throughout our day, whether it be anxiousness or frustration or anger or whatever, that we think it's, quote, normal. You guys, so whatever boat you're in, first and foremost, do an audit. I'd encourage everybody right now, forget some of our tools right now, just do an audit, how you were feeling today. Get in touch with what emotions you were feeling. Where did you feel it in your body? And just do that all week. By acknowledging where you're at, then we, can give you guys the right frameworks and tools to start moving that emotion through. Remember, emotion is energy, you guys, just like food. There's certain things that it can be more effective to help navigate it more powerfully. Pushing it down is like giving yourself, Drano. Okay. Like your gut is like, it's going to shut down, right? And it's going to react to that. When we start and keep pushing down emotions and avoiding it, or not even realizing it's there, it will finally manifest physically, mentally, and it will finally show up, as you said, in frustration and lack of productivity and rumination. So I would encourage all of you, just if you're not really knowing what emotions you're having today, just do an audit all week. That's where you start. And from there, that's when you can start looking at then themes, like what often gets you off. Is it always emails? Is it when you have bad conversations? Then you can start honing in, because from there, as a coach, as a practitioner, we start giving frameworks that can help move you through depending on the situation that you're most triggered. I will say this, everyone, as you do the audit, and Steve, this is really important for all your listeners, when you start kind of seeing a theme of something that gives you a certain emotion and it's pretty consistent throughout the week, there's usually a trigger there for a reason. Sometimes this is from core traumas in our past and beliefs we have from those core traumas. It can be from our childhood demographics and things we learned and wired into our system at the ages that we were developing. There's so many reasons why it can be there, but if something is continuing triggering you, it's usually something else that happened long time ago that's causing that to continue to trigger you and give you this emotion that you aren't digesting. So as a coach, there's a lot of frameworks to kind of dial clients through on that, but just being aware what emotions you're having, what are the common ones you're having, what Stephen just said, that's at least a start.
Mhm.
Pausing. If you're angry, if you're frustrated, you know that you're always angry and frustrated after you get a bad comment on a podcast or whatever it is, at least pausing, you guys, there's a lot of power in the pause. It gives your brain an opportunity to say, oh, wow, Steven's not running from this. He's not pushing it down. He's just settling, which means it might be kind of sort of safe. What happens then is the brain starts activating the creative zone, the solution zone. It starts looking at other things to help process the emotion. Now, again, it's not always going to be fully digested. Sometimes you do need more coaching or structure and framework. But just by, again, you guys, just a reminder, start auditing your week. What emotions, especially some of the lower ones that you're having, are they consistent with a certain activity and pattern? And then just pause with it. If you're finding that that isn't helping long term, this is where coaching comes in. You guys, this is something I do for a living. I've had my life's work around this, is really teaching you guys how to be 10 out of 10 plus versus 5 to 6 and do a pretty good job. One of my biggest quotes, Stephen, is good is the devil to great. Many high performers and leaders are like, well, I make good money and I have pretty good team and everything. But you guys, you feel like crap. And what if you could feel great and actually be 10 out of 10 with all the high performance and all the goals you have? And it starts with identifying your emotions and starting to shift them. And the shift for you guys for now, without the frameworks I have, is to give you that audit and then pause, because that'll allow you to digest the emotion a little bit, if not a lot.
So when somebody comes to you, because you brought up a really good point, and I think it's one of those things that a lot of people, especially men, if I'm honest, I see this the most in men, is when it comes to traumas, they just bury those things.
Mhm.
For a long time, I lived a very compartmentalized life, and yes, maybe you stored that away in your to-go bag of your traumas, but it's still going with you. That's something that you're going to be carrying into every conversation. That's something that happened to you, and you're not addressing it. So when somebody comes to you and they have these traumas and they have these triggers, let's say that it's somebody who they get triggered, but they're not self aware enough to do that audit to know that it's coming from a childhood trauma. They think it's more coming from, well, if my coworker would change,
Mhm.
well, if my wife wouldn't do that, if the guy who cut me off wouldn't have done that, then I wouldn't act this way. How do you help them become more self aware? I guess would be the word.
Yeah, and that's so great. First and foremost, you guys, I just want to use the word trauma. I want to back up a little bit. That word has been thrown around quite a bit. And here's the deal, everybody. There's small traumas, there's bigger traumas.
Mhm.
All of us have the way that we viewed life. I will say this at its basic level, anything that triggers you consistently, that you find yourself perseverating on, and it's a common thing that is triggering you throughout your week, everyone, that's coming from a trauma. Okay. I'm not talking about what actually Steven just said, where let's say someone cuts you off and you get a little irritated and then you go on with your day. You're naturally going to get a little bit upset. But if you keep persevering on that and you want to follow this person and like drive them off the road or that type of thing, you guys, this is where we have to look at it further, that it could be a trauma, something from your past, something from your childhood. And that does, everyone, require more coaching support to help you really break free of that, rewire the brain, and get the brain and body on board to be in a safe space to choose a different emotion and different behavior. And by the way, you guys, it doesn't mean you have to have a big trauma. I have worked with people that have been sexually assaulted, that have lost, their child to death, that have all those things. But I've also had people that were just made fun of as little kids in kindergarten. And it was during their developmental time, and they brought up different patterns of feeling traumatized and not trusting people because they were made fun of at 6 years of age. Okay. So, you guys, micro or big traumas, if they're there and you're not finding what we just talked about, pausing, you're not sure where it's coming from, it does require, I will say, coaching or counseling to help you become more aware and then give the frameworks to really process that and move forward. With that said, I love what you said, Stephen. So many of us, all of us do it, even leaders, you guys, just own it. Blame people. This person did this, and this is why this is not done on time. This person should have done this, and this is why this is happening. This person should have done. We all have done that. And you guys, two
Mhm.
things here. At the end of the day, even if that person is partially responsible, because a lot of times they are, by the way, you guys, but that's something we can't control, right? We can't control our part. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, we always have a part. Even if you think 90% is their part, it doesn't matter. You always have a part. And what you'll find often, you have a major part. And that's an actually awesome thing because that means you have some tools we can give you right now to actually shift that part so it can influence that situation. So when it comes up again, that's similar to that situation, you will address it differently, you will process it differently, you will be able to start shifting your emotion in a more powerful way. So that's the first thing, you guys. No, you can't control other people. You usually have a part. So start dealing with that. If you are a person, Steve, I think that's great. If you're a person that's like Jennifer, I get deal with so many people, guys, especially that have suppressed their emotions. They don't even know what that is. I get it. This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to go back to the pause. The reason why we suppress, you guys, is because we don't want to deal with it and we think it's actually courageous to get on and suck it up and go through our day. I'm going to encourage all my men and women out there. I'm going to encourage you and challenge you to look at performance and doing a good job as a leader in a different way. When you start changing your relationship to what you think that is, it's going to help with the second part I'm going to give you. And what I mean by that is be a leader that feels you can actually be healthy and be a high performer. Be a leader that feels you don't have to be burnt out and exhausted and hold that as a gold star to actually be a good leader. I want you guys to start challenging that thought process that you have to be exhausted, burnt, and overwhelmed, doing 20 things a day and feel horrible at the end of the day to be a quote good leader and high performer. Challenge you and journal on that because of what we just said for the last 30 minutes and how you can be a lot more optimal when you're feeling good anyway. That's the first part. The second part, once you start changing your relationship, that does a big thing to the brain, Stephen, because it starts being suggestible to other options. And what I mean is, okay, if I'm not supposed to feel miserable, just push down my emotions, and you're telling me that I should look at a relationship differently, it's already going to start searching for a different thing to be looking at and a different way to be feeling about it, including emotions. Okay. Change in the relationship, your brain's already being suggested toward looking at emotions differently. Second, what we just talked about before, everyone, power in the pause. I'm going to encourage all you men and women that are like, I have no clue what you're talking about with emotions, Jennifer. I don't even know what I feel. I'm going to encourage you every hour on the hour to actually get off your phone, turn off your computer, and sit for 5 minutes. And sit and do what, Jennifer? Nothing. Sit for 5 minutes and just start scanning your body. Do you have tension in your shoulders? Do you have gas, gut issues, or you feel pretty good? Do you feel weak? Do you feel high energy? Do you feel low energy? Just start documenting every hour on the hour. This is what I call somatic check-in, you guys. I do this all the time. At the end of an hour, how am I feeling? A little low energy. I need to move. I need to get my vitality back up. I'm actually feeling pretty good. I can go on to the next task. You guys, a somatic check-in is going to help you start learning your emotions and what you're feeling this audit we're talking about. So I'm going to encourage all of you that's on this show today, challenge you, maybe not every hour, if that feels too much, every other hour. 5 minutes, sit, turn off every cellular computer device and sit and just start scanning. How am I feeling? How's my energy? Do I have tension in my body? Am I feeling angry about something? Just start sitting and pausing in it, and you will start becoming aware, you guys. And
Mm.
what did I say before? You already start changing your relationship to thinking you have to push everything down and run and get exhausted. Your brain's already being suggestible because you're saying, I'm willing to look at it differently. Now I'm going to pause in that different relationship. What am I feeling right now? You guys, you'll be surprised in a week. You will be surprised how much more awareness you will have on certain emotions and tendencies you have toward an activity and emotion. From there, some of the tools that we mentioned earlier, and otherwise, if there's something more triggering, this is where coaching is necessary, you guys. I work with amazing epic leaders all the time that have traumas they can't work through on their own. They have emotional states they're still struggling with, even with the pause, and that's a-okay. I have so many coaches over the years, you guys. If you want to know how I became successful and how I stay in my leadership frequency, coaches. Okay. I've always found it really weird that after athletics, we stop getting coached after we're 18. You guys, we're always growing and evolving. We can't see everything. We don't have all the frameworks. Get a coach if this stuff doesn't work, you guys. I love working with leaders that can actually learn to shift it more powerfully, get through that crap of trauma, learn to become more aware, move that energy through, have a powerful state that allows you to take on anything during your day and allows you to be kind, connected with your team, allows you to be productive and high performing. Because it's game changing. I'm telling you, if you change nothing in your business frameworks and just start teaching yourself how to shift and shift exponentially at a higher rate during your day when stuff comes at you, I can't tell you how much your bottom line is going to change and your impact is going to accelerate. Game over every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Jennifer, that's amazing. How can people get connected with you? Because you've just done such an amazing job of breaking it down and talking about your frameworks and giving them a taste of how not because honestly they can walk away with real value.
Yeah.
For the people listening, they can walk away with what you've already given, and we can implement that today. Like the systematic check, that's something I might want to start looking at a little bit more often because I've just kind of sporadically done it and not actually had a system behind it. That's why I love that you called it a systematic check because you're actually making it into a system. So how can people connect with you to learn more about you and your coaching?
100%, you guys. This is my life work, and the stuff that we're giving you is going to create traction, but it's not necessarily going to get you to where you want to be. So please connect with me if you have questions. If you're interested in just talking to me about possible support, you guys, it's not a precious situation. We're here because I want to see you actually elevate to a newer level. We need more powerful, healed leaders, you guys. So I would love to connect with you. The best way to connect with me is through Instagram or LinkedIn. On Instagram, I'm at the Jennifer Watson. On LinkedIn, it's Jennifer Watson. I answer my own DMs. I do have ability to just connect with me. And if you want to just have some questions answered, or you want to just set up a call and see how I might be able to support you further, I would love to come along and learn more about your journey and see how we can do that.
That's for everyone listening, make sure to take advantage of that because that's how I met Jennifer. Was I just connected? I honestly just reached out to her, and that was how we first connected. And it's been beautiful to see how even just in the short conversation, she's been able to give me breakthroughs. So I know that just in the little ones, I could just imagine what she could do in the big ones. Now, Jennifer, before I let you go, though, this happens on every one of my podcasts now, is tell me a funny story about something that's happened either on your journey or in your business.
Oh my gosh. Let's see here. That's a funny story. I'm going to say this, you guys. As a leader, one of my giftings, I think a lot of leaders have this. I'm a risk taker and I'm not afraid to face plant because to me, it's the learning moment. I'm not afraid to face plant. And this is actually when I was a captain on my college track team and I was interested in a guy and they were saying, oh, you should go ask him out. You should go ask him out. He's on the guys' track team. And I went up to go ask him out. And come to find out he was engaged. so totally face planted. I learned a lesson of getting more information on him as a leader than I was, but I was going for it. Other people were wanting to ask other guys out on the teams too. And it was my way. It's a funny story, but it's also part of my gifting as a leader is I'm not afraid to go forward and have funny stories like this where sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I face plant, and it's a lesson of maybe I should have checked out first that he was not engaged. So that's my funny story in leadership on a track team, and I will never forget that. And let me just tell you, his response was so very kind because I wanted to crawl into a hole.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Great question.
That's amazing. Thank you for your story. Thank you so much for just spending this time with us today on the Voice Like a Lion podcast. For those of you guys listening, I've already said it once, but make sure to go. All of this will be in the description for you to be able to find the social medias, to be able to connect with Jennifer. But I do find it really important for you guys to take action and to get connected with her. She's amazing at what she does. And Jennifer, thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephen.
And to everyone else, see you guys on the next episode.